Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to our last segment this morning, dear viewers and listeners, and that is, of course, Fired Up with Ashraf Gangrekar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh,
Wa
Ashraf.
alaikum
And I believe
salam.
I
The
believe we're
wonderful.
talking about envy today. Very interesting
Yes.
topic. Short four-letter word, not a profane one, I hope, but one that should spark lots of reactions in the
It
viewers and
is.
listeners.
I hope so. Wa alaikum salam, Aisha. And honestly, I always enjoy your English interludes and all of that jazz and your interjections like that. That was clever. Very, very clever. But it should be a four-letter word that you should lump with the others, actually, because I want to contend it is a very, very dangerous thing, this envy. Firstly, the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tells us in a beautiful hadith that beware of envy. He says to you, be very careful, beware of envy, for envy destroys virtuous deeds, good deeds, the way a wildfire destroys firewood. In some cases, it's translated as dry grass. And so imagine, that you let a fire loose on a dry patch of land and it destroys everything. That's what envy does. And, when we hear in these, the last few nights, the blessed nights, Allah accept everyone's efforts and increase them in abundance, inshallah.
Ameen.
Then there are
Ameen.
things that we might be doing unaware, even unwittingly, that perhaps cause for these deeds that we are trying, and it causes for them to diminish in the sight of Allah. So I'm going to start off this little thing with a Russian proverb, if you don't mind, Aisha. So the
Sure, go
Russian
ahead.
proverb goes like this. It says, a farmer one day finds, a magical lamp. So we know this type of notion, right? So purely, I'm just not making this up, but I mean, it's not a real thing. So he finds this lamp, rubs the lamp, and obviously the magical genie appears. And the genie says, I give you one wish. And the farmer says, my neighboring farmer has a cow. I don't have a cow. I want my neighboring farmer's cow to die. The point of all of this is that when envy is when you wish bad for someone else, when you are envious of what they have. So I'm just going to come to our own, into our own spaces, because very, very important hadith. Prophet ﷺ tells us, love for others what you love for
Yes.
yourself. Now, that's a very difficult thing. I want you to know it's easy to say those words, but for a lot of people, I'm not here sitting in judgment, I never do, that doesn't come easily. So the neighbor pulls out a brand new car, not talking S-Class Mercedes Benz, brand Toyota, whatever the case may be, a new car. You've had the same car for 5, 6, 7 years. It's almost easy to feel, oh, I wish, and now what is he doing that he's got a car? I'm not going to blame the whispering of the wife and say the wife is saying that. That's nonsense. That's misogynistic. Anybody would sometimes feel that. Some people are able to travel, alhamdulillah, with Allah's mercy and grace. They travel overseas and go on these wonderful holidays and send you pictures from Rome and the Maldives. And the first you've been perhaps is, the park on the end of the road. And that's by Allah's will and Allah's blessings. And when you hear them going again and we're seeing their pics on Facebook and Instagram, and we think, yeah, man, I wonder what they are doing, that they go there, but they're not so nice people, etc. So I want you to understand those emotions is envy. That's not healthy at all. So I'm going to equate this in terms of envy, and as a real illustration. Envy is when you're holding a hot piece of coal in your hand. It's burning your hand, and you hold it until you can't hold it anymore. Then you take this hot coal and you throw it and smash the window of the person you are envious of. The only people who are really affected is you yourself mostly. And then, quite honestly, if you act on this envy, these people that you perhaps hurt with words. Now, if we find ourselves in these situations, I'm saying number one, it is a unpleasant feeling. And I'm saying to you, and the majority of scholars in Islam regard this as a sin. And I say to you, I warn you and I warn myself that it will destroy our good deeds. Thus, in these blessed nights, in these last few days of Ramadan, number one, ask yourself Am I an envious person? Just privately, yeah? Yesterday we spoke about honesty. And
Mm-hmm.
if the answer is yes, then we say to ourselves, okay, the first thing then to be is conscious that when these feelings of envy arise in us, be aware of them and then turn to Allah and say to Allah, I want you to be the owner and the controller of my heart. Remove this feeling. And then we increase in our lives the notion of Alhamdulillah, to be grateful for what we have, and then compare ourselves not with those who have more, but compare ourselves with those who have less. And in this process of awakening and consciousness, Aisha, it's my
Mm-hmm.
contention that this bad feeling of envy then diminishes and inshallah is removed from our lives completely, so that our good deeds are not destroyed the way fire destroyed the grass, but our good deeds are then watered and nurtured by the flow of the positive energy that leaves our body. Beware of envy.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Jazakallah khair for that wonderful dissertation on envy and that warning that envy destroys our good deeds as fire destroys dry grass. Very, very important, particularly in these last very blessed days of Ramadan. As I said yesterday, that farmer, Ashraf, if he had, instead of saying, destroy his cow, the neighbor's cow, if he had said, MashaAllah, Subhanallah, Allah has blessed him. Allah bless me too. That's a
There we go.
different
That's the point,
emotion.
Aisha. Yes, that's what we should be doing.
That's
So
what we
when
should
we
be
see
doing.
others, say Alhamdulillah, and Allah increase that person and give share of your blessings with me. Not so envy is no, I don't want him to be happy. I don't want him to have. Even if I don't have, nobody must have. That's crazy.
Absolutely. And it's a very destructive emotion. As you said,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
hurts at the end of the day, nobody but ourselves to envy others. So may Allah remove envy from
yeah.
our
Ameen.
hearts and the
Ameen, Ya
hearts
Rabb.
of all listeners and viewers out there. And may we consciously recognize when shaitan comes whispering in our ears about being envious of the next person and rather say, MashaAllah, that person has been blessed by Allah. He or she must have pleased Allah in some way. May I have the wherewithal to please Allah in a
There we go.
similar way, and then inshallah Allah will reward me as well.
Ameen. Absolutely. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you so much.
Shukran jazilan, Ashraf. As
Well,
always, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah.
And with that, dear listeners, we end today's broadcast of News and Views here on Salam Media with myself, Aisha Kaji. I am your guest host for this week, so I'll be back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 8, and hope you'll be tuning in then as well, and again on Friday, inshallah. With that, wishing you everything of the best for the next few days. These are such Mubarak days that I was very struck yesterday by a comment made by a mentee of mine. I coach writing, and my writing mentee is researching Sufi practices and dhikr practices among South African women. And several of her interviewees said to her that dhikr is not only when we remember Allah by taking Allah's name, but dhikr is also when we salah, when we fast, when we cook, when we run, when we swim, when we move, when we do anything that can be dhikr, if we train our minds consciously to remember Allah, to thank Allah in all that we do, to ask for Allah's assistance in all that we do, then just about every waking and sleeping moment of ours, because if we sleep with dhikr as well, um, every moment of our lives, inshallah, becomes a form of dhikr, a form of remembering our Creator and remembering that this life is a transient one. And inshallah, that in these last few days of Ramadan and the last few blessed nights seeking for Laylatul Qadr, we start to really habituate ourselves to the idea that everything we do is dhikr and we do everything with Allah consciousness. I'd like to leave you with that thought for today. Shukran jazilan, jazakallahu khair for being with us today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.